Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to The Sims 4, and welcome back to our speed build. Heads up, this is part 2 of an actual build that needs to go in parts. Normally if it's a part 1 and a part 2 and it's just rentals or whatever, I tell you not to worry about it. In this case, you should probably go check out part 1 if you haven't seen it. Hopefully there's a fun little annotation somewhere on the screen to take you there, but if not, it's probably 2 videos back on the channel. So if you just go to the most recent tab, go find it in there. It'll be called something like Greenhouse Part 1. You'll be able to find it, don't worry about it. And it should have the same thumbnail. I try to do that for consistency and finding stuff too. So anyways, we're doing the second part of the greenhouse, and currently what we're working in right now is what I'm kind of considering the interior community garden space. What I was trying to mimic was in your science centers and your museums and your even in your zoos to a point, they always have a classroom space. Sometimes they use it for summer camp, sometimes they use it for school trips, sometimes they use it for educating professionals who are coming into the field. And that's what I was kind of trying to mimic here, was the idea of a little bit of a maybe learning space. But in reality, for gameplay, what it's probably going to look like is more of a community garden. It might be a good place for your sim to come if you can't afford garden plots yet in your rags to riches, or you want to grow something out of season but you don't have walls yet, or your sim just simply doesn't have space in whatever playthrough you're trying to tell to grow things and they need to grow things. It also might be a good space to have things growing if your sim isn't a gardener, but just need, sometimes the chef career needs specific things. This could be a good place to have that stuff growing but not necessarily have to worry about it. It's not on your lot kind of thing. Or maybe put your rare trees that you don't have space for. There is also going to be an exterior community garden space, which we'll be building on a little bit later and we'll talk more about, but that's also a good place for those kind of things, your trees and things. Honestly, like I said, just a community space for things to be handled that you don't want on lot. Gardening takes up a lot of space. There's also a flower arranging table here, so realistically, if you just wanted to blow through a couple different skill trees here, you could get your gardening up, your flower arranging up, different things like that. You might even be able to get some of your research skills up, because you could probably come out here and get slides to then put in the microscope. There's not a microscope on property here, but I mean, you could add one really easily too. You could take out the wedding area, which we'll get to in a bit, and put a microscope. You could actually make this a science center pretty easily. Anyways, I digress though. The idea behind this was the little bit more of the work area, the classroom area, the learning growing space, right? And that's what's happening in here. And like I said, I tried to make the little work area make sense here. It is a flower arranging table, and that's a really useful skill for certain things. I believe there's a bouquet even, or a flower or something you can give to sims that can affect life and death, things like that. So it's a good skill to have, and it just allows you to find one in the world. I don't see a lot of those kind of skill items often out in the world. So here's one, but it also just, to be honest with you, looked super cute. It just made sense in this space to have a little work area in your little garden space, and then I decorated it a little bit here. There's nothing growing in it right now. I could have things growing in it before I put it up on the gallery. I didn't think about it. I didn't bring a sim here, but I absolutely could do that. I'll have to think about that. This isn't up on the gallery quite yet. I haven't gotten that far. I'm way behind in my gallery uploads again. It's so simple to get behind, and I just don't know how to solve that. And it's not something I think about fairly often, because I went without internet for so long at the beginning of this channel, driving into town to upload and things, that even still to this day, remembering to update the gallery and stuff is just not part of the workflow. So here you can see the outside community garden space, and I really like this little space. Now, I will say it's a pain in the rear to go from the interior space to the exterior space in terms of the community garden, because you do have to walk all the way around. Hindsight being what it is, it would have been kind of cool to maybe put a door in, but because the interior space is sunken, it would have been the door would have been up, so you would have been upstairs and downstairs. It would have looked weird. So you just come off the back patio to this space. It is separated because I didn't want your sim to have to walk through the wedding space to have to get here. At first I had it like that, and then I was like, that's a real dumb choice, because what if you have a wedding ceremony going on but you're also running an experiment here or something, and now you have to walk through someone's ceremony to get to the community garden. So there is its own separate space. It kind of gives a little bit of a maze, like a hedge maze. There we go. Hedge was the word I was forgetting. Gives a little bit of a hedge maze vibe. but you can get out there. Here's like a little back patio. I was making a little landing space. It takes me a little bit to get this worked out, and I thought about cutting a lot of it out, but I wanted to show you because this is the kind of stuff that I really struggle with, and it's the kind of stuff I would love to see more YouTubers show me, because there are things that I need to learn. And I don't know if everyone's like this, but I'm kind of my favorite way to learn is to like watch someone do it and get the steps and then go and try to break it in a billion different ways. So I'm hoping by showing you this, you can be like, that's how Amanda put like the landscaping together. That's how she created this vibe. And then you can be like, yeah, but I didn't like what she did, so I want to do it differently. Or I like what she did, but I could do it this way. That kind of thing. Please always feel, I hope I make it very clear that they're precious to me in that I am very proud of the builds I put out, but they are not precious to me in that I want to see you guys actually using them and loving them and, destroying them and changing them. And if you do, please send them to me because it makes my heart so happy when I see people working with my builds. You can full on give me a complex in the best way. So here you can see I'm starting to mess with, the different pathways through here. It's not super necessary for The Sims, but I did try to put a little bit of excess space between like the little cafe area and the wedding area, because in theory you would want the noise to not travel. In reality, you would close this for a formal event, so there wouldn't be noise. But I still liked the idea of like what would be the reception space and the ceremony space being a little bit separate, especially then too, because like, and again, I recognize this is The Sims, this is a little dumb, but like in reality, if you were to rent out this space, you would need a place for photos and stuff, and you would do a lot of those photos inside probably, but you would also want to maybe do some photos in and around the like altar space. And so I was like, well, if that's separate from the reception space, then it's easy, right? You can block it off. And so I tried to like make sure these arches and stuff kind of gave a separation of space. And because it's technically a park, you have to have a kids area. So I went and found like the prettiest, floweriest little children's things that you can find. I did put a toddler slide in, which is not particularly flowery or gardeny, but our toddlers get left out, justice for toddlers. So I did add that in. I did choose to add a little elephant slide as well, even though it's not particularly floral, it's fine. So there is a place for your kids to hang out. And at first I was a little like annoyed at this, but in reality, I was thinking about it. Like, I don't think about my personal wedding a lot because I'm single as a Pringle and chronically so. But I was like, actually, realistically, if you're going to rent a place like this, that might be nice because there's like a place where you can let the kids be, where it's not like, wow, they're going to break expensive stuff. This is a kids area. They can be in there. There's a gate. There can be an adult or two, depending on the number of kids in there watching, and you're good. And when I think about my own wedding, because I have so many kids in my family that I love dearly and want to be there, I've always thought it would be nice to have like hire like a babysitter, but like one that's like specially ready to go for like understanding, hey, this is a wedding and you're gonna have like 15 kids to entertain, like almost like a mobile daycare situation, so that the kids can come and be a part of it, and I can have their beautiful little souls with me on a special day. But also when they're like, man, I hate this, I don't want to be here anymore, I can be like, great, go play games, honey. You don't have to wear the dress and, be in all the pictures. You're fine. No one's going to be annoyed at you. Here you can see for a minute, I was thinking about the reception side of things. And so I was like, well, I'm going to put a dance floor in and all this. And then I went, that's kind of dumb because that's not what this actually is. I mean, it is, but it isn't. This is going to be a food court 98% of the time, right? And not even a food court. It's just a little like area to chill 98% of the time. Unless you're hosting a wedding here, you don't need it to look like a wedding reception venue thing, right? And so I eventually do get rid of the dance floor. I was like, I will deal with this another time. Here I'm trying to decorate it, and I think there's a lot of really cute ways to decorate a dance floor and make it look like part of the place. But I eventually just was like, nope, you know what? This feels like something someone would deal with when they're actually setting up for the wedding. Because the other thing too is you'll see me set up in altar space, and I do set it up so that you can see the vibe and you can recognize it as a potential wedding venue. But realistically, I know you're not going to be into the color scheme I picked. To be honest with you, I'm not super into the color scheme I picked. I mean, I like it, but it's not what I would pick for like probably most of my Sims and stuff. It was just a fun experiment. And so I'm like, realistically, you're going to probably tear that apart and change it up and make it your own way. And that's fantastic. So I was like, why would I set up a full reception when 98% of the time this is going to be a park? And when you do use it as a wedding venue, you're going to change it anyway. So I went back to just thinking about this more like a little like cafe food like hangout space. So this is a little food place. I liked the idea of it being a trailer. This is my favorite food stand. I think you can tell because it's in every public space I build. I love this little food stand because it looks like a trailer, which means it can be moved, which means it's not like an official part of the greenhouse, which means when the greenhouse was built, I'm trying to make this thing look old and like distinguished, right? When this was built, they weren't thinking food court. So this little like idea, I liked the idea of a partnership with a local business where like the greenhouse was like, yo, we want to serve food. That's a good idea. Let's see if like the tamale lady wants to set up. I don't know if your town has a tamale lady. We have a tamale lady. She also makes breakfast tamales. Oh, I don't even know if you could call them tamales at that point. They're like breakfast burritos. Either way, the burritos are amazing. The tamales are amazing. Oh, they're so good. Anyways, that was the idea. Now I want a tamale. Now I've distracted myself and I really desperately want a tamale. Okay, so here's the deal too on this. The night I'm recording this, it's Thanksgiving. I have eaten my weight in turkey. I have eaten so much pie, and I made pies, and oh my goodness. I'm quite proud of myself. I burnt the crust a little bit on the pumpkin ones, but oh my goodness, they were good. Anyways, and the best part is this was my little like nucleus Thanksgiving, so it was a little bit smaller scale because we've started kind of having a habit of having like there's 4 people that live in my house, and we've had a smaller one so that we get the leftovers of like the foods that we want. So we don't make like a full Thanksgiving meal or anything. We just make like the things we all enjoy, green bean casserole, things like that. And then my big family one is on Saturday because that's when everyone's shifts like worked out the best. So I actually have a whole another Thanksgiving coming up. And y'all, if I have to like roll into my office on Tuesday when I go back to work, he's gonna be crazy. But oh, I ate so much good food. So I can't believe I'm sitting here thinking about a tamale. But I'm sitting here thinking about a tamale now. I think that's the danger sometimes of like eating so much food is you just get in like the habit then of eating food, if that makes sense. Oh, but I'm so not actually hungry. I skipped around a little bit here. I definitely had one of those moments where I thought I'd hit record and then realized you didn't miss much. I'm just kind of outlining in different bushes and trying to make the landscape on the outside of the building mesh with the landscape kind of around, make it look lush. I wanted it to still look like somebody cared very strongly about the gardens, but it's a little bit messier. It's a little bit more haphazard, just to kind of give it a little bit of a different vibe and fill in those areas where I was like, well, I'm not putting anything, so I better just fill them with full plants, because I didn't really want any area that didn't look like it had been touched a little bit. The walkway to the community garden, I tried to make look like someone mostly just mowed it and then like missed a couple places. And on the patios, I obviously here was trying to put like different potted plants. I put potted plants outside. I never get to use stuff like this, so this was really fun. Like this I don't even know what you'd call it, the like giant plant thing there. And then I went crazy with the I think it's called the Natsuga, but I can't remember off the top of my head. That is like my heart plant, man. I use that on everything. I love that look. I think because I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and that sort of like really leafy undergrowth is like really common. Yeah, I think that's why. Here I was trying to add just a little bit of seating because it's the area off the porch space, the like patio space, and so I thought it made sense to kind of have like a little bit of seating if you're trying to figure out where you're going to go next or what the plan is. There's no way to exit out here, it occurs to me, and it would be maybe nice to have this back door actually lead out where your sim could leave as well. It's not a huge deal, but I might think about adding a gate somewhere around in here before I put this up on the gallery, just because it would be nice for fire safety. Not, again, that that's a problem in The Sims, but it's something to think about. So yeah, here you can see I'm just doing like little wildflowers, kind of making it look overgrown. It makes a little bit more sense when I put the terrain paint in, but I don't do the terrain paint till the end because I have a small issue with my terrain paint liking to ghost me. It likes to disappear if I'm not paying enough attention, and sometimes even while I'm actively doing it. So I usually do terrain paint last, and I will warn you that when I get this uploaded and when you download it, the chances the terrain paint are there are very slim. I don't know what to do about it. I don't think the Sims team knows what to do about it. I think we all just have to live with the it's the Sims. It's always a little weird. It's the Sims. It's always funky. Now, I didn't think about this when I was building it, and it doesn't super matter, to be honest with you, because you guys are going to place this down wherever you want, but I did find it kind of silly that I put the wedding arch situation right next to the children's playground. and then put like the area for the children and like the reception and cafe area on the opposite side. That is so silly to me because it's going to be so noisy. But again, it's The Sims. It doesn't actually matter. And realistically, it's The Sims. I don't know how many kids are like for realsies going to be playing on that all the time. Is that a bucket over there? I didn't even realize there was one of those water balloon buckets over there. That's really cool. Shows how much I pay attention. So I ended up picking this wedding arch. I think it's really pretty. It's not the like fluffiest. It wasn't like the floweriest, but I thought it made sense because if you're gonna be a place of business like a museum or something, you're gonna build like an actual arch, right? And it was just grand enough to like kind of fit the vibes. And here I'm just putting these chairs down, and it kind of like the one thing that kind of annoyed me. I like red roses, but I'm not like huge on them. So the arch having red roses, I was a little bit like, and then the chairs that I liked had pink, and I was like, oh, so we're doing like red and pink, which was a little bit of a thing. Not my favorite color combination, but I was like, let's see if we can make this work. And I think we were able to. We put some bouquets and stuff down. If I was getting married here, I'd probably change it to my Sims' favorite colors. But it worked. Like, we got there in the end. I put some little flowers by the walkway. And I think with this this aisle, I believe you can have, like, the flower girl throw petals and stuff. I might be wrong about that. I'll be honest with you, I haven't used Wedding Stories, like, basically since it came out and it was broke, right? Like, kind of haven't bothered with it too much. But I believe there's lots of options you could do, and you could trade the aisle out for, there is one that is like with flowers and stuff, so there's lots of options. I just went with the sort of invisible one because, you know, it's simple, it's nice. And then I start just trying to landscape. I wanted a big tree, but I couldn't find one that worked. I love that tree. I want to use that tree somewhere, but that tree was not gonna work for us. So I ended up thinking like, okay, well, let's just make it like kind of overgrown in, you know, in the way that I tend to enjoy it being overgrown. And with lots of pretty flowers and stuff. And then I will end up putting some trees in the back, which I think help a little bit. There they are. What are these called? I think these are maybe like cypress. They look kind of cypressy. I don't know. I'd have to look. But I end up putting these in and I try to rotate them so they look like different trees. Kind of just gives it a nice backstop. We'll make it nice for photos, things like that. And then more just like shoving plants everywhere I could shove plants. This again is one of those areas that takes a lot more shape when you get a little bit more of like the walkway and stuff in the terrain paint. And here I'm just kind of like putting the last little bits around, trying to finish this. The outside bit kind of kicked my tail a little bit just because it was like, I don't really know what to do here. And some of the outside stuff is creeping in and some of the inside stuff is creeping out through the bush, but it's a hedge, so I was like, it makes sense. The plants, they're gonna commingle. There's nothing I can do. And put a couple more trees out, give it some shade. I think this would be a really fun place to bring your Sims. I think it'd be a really cozy place, a place to maybe bring your kids and let them play on the stuff. You can, you know, the one thing I was gonna do though, that I didn't do that I should do before I put up is I was gonna put an easel somewhere on this lot, and I didn't. And I should, because if you're gonna put this many pretty plants down, you should have an easel. Although your Sim could also bring their camera, and like I've started doing that where I give my Sim a camera, like regardless if I'm gonna have them be a photographer or not. Because when they're traveling different worlds, they can take pictures, and if they get good at it, they can take pretty pictures, and then you get like free art, right? So I have like, and I actually have some screenshots just like saved because I have like some really pretty ones from, is it Tamarani? The For Rent world. Holy cow, that world is gorgeous and photographs really well. And Sulani is the same. And then I had some fun with the Horse Ranch world, which is completely slipped my mind on what that world is called. Chestnut Ridge? Maybe? And here I'm doing a little bit more inside, just a little bit of decoration, kind of fitting the vibe here. I don't think I showed you, but I definitely forgot those two front beds, and I needed to fill them out. Literally almost like finished the video and then went, wait a minute, yeah, I see they're still not done up there. Watch me realize like, oh hey, I need to do those. And here I'm just trying to put like cute little more like curated flower areas in. It took a while to get there. I put like a signboard and stuff in and a few different potted plants. Here's the signboard. I think I used one of these. I can't remember which one. Maybe it's that one. I don't think it looks particularly cafe-y, even though it is cafe-y, and I thought it would be kind of cool to have a way to tell people coming in what kind of events you might be having. Like maybe you're having a Master Gardener's class, or maybe your local Grange is going to show up, or something like that. I thought it'd be really cool to have an events area. This would also potentially be a really fun lot with the various rooms and the underground facilities and stuff. It could be a really interesting lot to turn into a community, what do they call those, community spaces? And then you could design this 4 times over. It could stay the way it is in this regard, maybe. And then every time your community votes to change it to something, you could change the interior a little bit and add things. That could be really cool, because I could see maybe like, I think there's one where it's like a cellar space where you could maybe clear out one of the wings and have, or clean up, like move some of the gardens around and have like maybe the selling booths. You could have a maker space in here. It'd be really cool, like really orient it more towards science. Make it a science center. It'd be really cool. I can see a lot of things happening with this building shape. And I can also see this community a lot maybe growing with your save a little bit. I think that would be really fun. I honestly might put this in my personal save because I kind of could use a space like this. And if you wanted to get rid of like the children's area, I learned just recently that you can change it to a national park and there's like virtually no requirements. Now, I don't know if that changes the spawn rates, to be honest with you. I should pay more attention to that than I do. I don't really understand like the difference between a bar and a lounge and a nightclub and all that. So, you know, your mileage may vary with that, but that is something, if you just want to build like a pretty space to go take photos, maybe a national park is where you're at. And if you wanted to change this and not have the kid stuff, maybe a national park is where it's at. Back to the video here, you can see the terrain paint, little bit kicking my tail. Shouldn't surprise anyone, always struggle with it, but it was like weirdly hard for this one. Weirdly hard. I think just because there was so much of it to consider. And I was trying to think about like where people walk and what people do without making it look super grody, because I didn't want it to look super worn. And I did want a lot of like grass space and stuff because, you know, the master gardeners here are going to want to like keep that grass up and stuff. It was like a whole thing. And like looking at it now, maybe in the like cafe area, I should have put like tiles down or something. I don't know. I don't know. It was a lot. It was a lot of terrain paint, and it definitely bested me a little bit. But I think that's fine. You can't, you can't win them all, as it were. But I really like this build. I'm ridiculously proud of this build. And like I said, if you haven't gone back and seen the first part, you really should, because there's a whole sneaky underground bit you haven't even seen yet. So definitely go check out the first part if you haven't, and then come back and tell me how awesome it is, because I could use it, you know, stroke my ego. I'm teasing. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I hope you're having a great day and you're feeling loved. And if you're not feeling loved, please know that I love you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you're here hanging out. You make the world and the Sims world a better place just by being you. And I mean that. I love hanging out with you all the time. And I will see you next for probably some Minecraft. And after that, for maybe some Christmas builds if I can figure it out. We'll see. Okay, love you. Bye. Mwah.